Have you ever been hurt by someone? Not in a moment of weakness, but with precision, with cold intention, and wondered, why? Why would someone who once cared for you suddenly seem to target your very sense of self? Carl Jung believed this question has an answer, not in morality, but in psychology. Because behind deliberate cruelty, behind betrayal or manipulation, there's often not just malice, but something more insidious, the shadow self, the disowned parts of our psyche that, when denied, act out in quiet, sometimes devastating ways. Part 1. The shadow behind intentional harm. Jung didn't believe that most cruelty was senseless. He argued that harm often arises not from chaos, but from unresolved inner conflict. From a person's shadow, which contains everything they repress: envy, shame, rage, inferiority, and the desire for power. And here's the key: the more someone denies their shadow, the more it controls them. The more good they try to appear, the darker their unconscious becomes. So when a person harms you on purpose, subtly undermines you, degrades you, or isolates you, they've often already built an internal narrative that makes it feel justified. Jung called this moral disengagement, the psychological act of dehumanizing someone before harming them. You become, in their eyes, not a person, but a symbol of what they hate, fear, or lack within themselves. They convince themselves, you're weak, you're a problem, you deserve it. That's how the shadow acts without guilt, and even finds satisfaction in your suffering. Part 2. The coldness of contempt. Unlike reactive anger, which explodes in moments of emotion, contempt is calm. It's calculated. And in Jung's view, it's far more dangerous. Contempt doesn't just want to hurt, it wants to erase. It says, you're beneath empathy. And that's when the mask slips. But contempt rarely announces itself loudly. Instead, it builds in silence, in unspoken judgments, microaggressions, quiet superiority. One sarcastic comment at a time, one dismissive gesture, one withheld truth. Jung believed that the shadow feeds on silence. When someone never confronts their envy, never processes their insecurity, it leaks out sideways, through sabotage, through gossip, through covert punishment. And over time, that contempt starts seeking validation. The person may begin recruiting others into their private narrative, twisting your actions into threats, planting subtle doubts about your intentions, painting you as unstable or dishonest. This is how private contempt becomes socially reinforced. You're not just being devalued in one mind. You're being erased in the eyes of many. Part 3. Shadow projection and instrumental thinking. One of Jung's most haunting insights was this: people don't just project what they fear, they project what they can't accept in themselves. So when someone fixates on your flaws, exaggerates your mistakes, or accuses you of things that feel strangely off, pay attention. You might be witnessing shadow projection. They see manipulation in you because they're manipulative. They see weakness in you because they fear their own. They attack your boundaries because they have none. Jung warned us that the shadow is a trickster, and its favorite weapon is instrumental thinking. That is, treating people not as humans, but as tools. A manipulative person may smile, offer concern, even praise you, but it's not genuine. It's strategic. They study you, your language, your wounds, your longings, not to connect, but to control, not to love, but to exploit. And once they know what matters to you, they know where to strike. Your need for validation, they withhold praise. Your sensitivity to truth, they lie with a straight face. Your desire for harmony, they create chaos and blame you for reacting. Part 4. Psychological erosion and emotional confusion. This isn't always obvious at first. Jung believed psychological harm is often gradual. It doesn't begin with betrayal. It begins with distortion. One small lie, one missed apology, one moment that didn't sit right, but you let slide. Then another, until suddenly, you're second-guessing yourself. They test your boundaries. Then they test your memory. Then your emotions, until your sense of reality begins to erode. This is psychological warfare, and it's most effective when the attacker is close to you, a partner, a parent, a friend. Why? Because intimacy gives them access to your emotional core, your hopes, fears, identity. Jung called this privilege destruction, using someone's vulnerability against them. If you value honesty, they lie. If you value loyalty, they betray. If you value peace, they start fires just to watch you put them out. And when you finally react, when the confusion becomes unbearable, they turn the tables and say, "You're being too sensitive. You're overthinking. You need help." Part 5. Gaslighting and the double victory. At this point, many fall into despair, because it's not just the betrayal, it's the gaslighting that follows. Gaslighting, in Jungian terms, is a way of seizing control over another's reality. It's the ultimate shadow tactic, not to destroy your body, but to dismantle your trust in yourself. They hurt you, then deny it happened. They cross boundaries, then blame you for building them. They make you question what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. And the worst part? Jung described it as a double victory. They harm you, and then make you feel guilty for noticing. You begin apologizing for being hurt. You try to fix what they broke. And why? Because deep down, you still believe they care. Part 6. How to respond. The Jungian way. But Jung taught us something vital. The way out is not through retaliation, but through awareness. When you react with rage, you become entangled in the very drama their shadow needs. You confirm their narrative, that you're unstable, weak, dangerous. Instead, Jung encouraged us to respond with conscious clarity. That means naming the behavior without venom, setting boundaries without apology, speaking truth without begging to be believed. Because you don't need to win them over. You don't need to prove you're good. You only need to return to your own center. Part of you that knows who you are and what you deserve. Jung believed that the strongest person is not the one who strikes back, but the one who can walk away with their soul intact. Final thoughts. From shadow to sovereignty. If you've been hurt like this, not by chance, but by design, let this be your reminder. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't your weakness. It was their shadow in disguise. Your healing, your clarity, your peace is the greatest disruption to their control, and your refusal to become like them is the highest act of individuation. Your healing, your clarity, your peace is the greatest disruption to their control, and your refusal to become like them is the highest act of individuation. In the end, you don't have to carry their darkness. You only have to face your own and walk toward the light of your true self. Thank you for watching. If this message resonated, share it with someone who needs it. And if you'd like to support more content like this, consider clicking the thanks button below or joining our growing Telegram community for deeper dives and early releases. Until next time, stay aware, stay grounded, and remember, your worth is not up for negotiation.